Hi, I'm Mart, and you are watching Mart's Movies Review. Today I'm going to talk about the movie 3 Days in a Condor. It's an espionage thriller from the 1970s. The movie is directed by Sidney Pollack and starring Robert Redford. Sidney Pollack and Robert Redford made a few movies together. They made a movie 2 years previous with Barbara Streisand, The Way We Were, a romantic drama. And you had Out of Africa as well. It's set in New York City. Basically, we have Redford, CIA analyst. He's just a book researcher. There's 7 or 8 of them altogether. I think there's 7 in the office at the time. There's one off duty, and they're just focusing on books and letters, magazines, just to see anything that pops up that might be of concern to the Central Intelligence Agency. And you start off, they show the office and they show them all kind of just carrying on with their duties. A man goes into Redford's office. We just see someone in his office, all right, but it's not Redford, it's Albert Einstein. And we see Redford then popping up on a motorized bicycle that we see now today with the scooters. And there's bonhomie and chit chat between the female and the females and the males inside the office, and then it's time to go for lunch, and it's Redford's turn to go and get lunch. So he pops out with the lunch order out the back. He having the crack with the lads in the diner while getting the lunch order. The rest of the crew that he's working with come face to face with a fellow CIA agent and kind of freelancer, played by Max von Sydow, the actor from The Exorcist. He enters the building anyway, and the 6 or 7 agents get killed, with silencers. And yeah, there's kind of a memorable scene, the female CIA agent, what she says, when she comes face to face with Max. And then, of course, Redford comes back from his with the lunch order to the front of the building, and he's just waiting to get buzzed in, and there's no one buzzing him in, so he just pushes his hand at the door and he sees that it's open, and he sees his fellow agents on the ground. He thinks they're just fooling around, and then he just sees he goes up the stairs and goes around and sees the woman and sees the other 2 guys upstairs as well, and he's just amazed by he's just in total shock of what's happening. They're not, and he's just panicked then, and he takes a gun with him, and he just kind of flees the building. He's on the phone then to the CIA operatives, and he's in a state of stress, anxiety, as he would be in a phone box. And they're asking for his code name and who's his team, and one of his agents that got shot at the reception is Nightingale, and they're just saying call back in 2 hours, and he just feels all alone and kind of all confused. And he gets in contact then with one of the agents, his higher ups, and they're actually in the Twin Towers. It must have been in 1975. I think the Twin Towers just put up there in 1975, so the movie might have been made in 1974, just coming into 1975. And he's a bit wary about the person on the phone because he hasn't met him before. And there's another supervisor enters the room, and they're talking about bringing someone he knows. So he gets a school friend, someone he knows, I think from college, to come and meet him. Anyway, it turns out badly, and he's got alleyways, and he ends up shooting one of the top agents, and he gets shot at himself, and his friend gets shot after wearing a bulletproof vest. He gets shot. So he's on the run again, and he's kind of hiding out in a store, and he sees this woman at the counter, and it's Faye Dunaway, and he kind of hitches up with her and pretends that he knows her, and he hangs out with her anyway, and she just can't believe this is happening to her. She's just in a state of shock, and they turn on TV anyway, and they say something happened, or some kind of incident happened in an alleyway, in the alleyway. And what happens then is just basically he just starts talking to Higgins. They go to a certain place, and Faye Dunaway does, and she kind of hatches an idea. They hatch an idea to get Higgins on his own and start talking to him, and they don't really know what it's all about. He doesn't really understand why the agents got killed, and he's fine and discloses the information in a way, and he ends up with the deputy director of the CIA of the Middle East is involved with the assassinations. And this is around the time of like Watergate and Watergate scandals and confusion and despair and kind of shock and surprise around the Nixon administration. So you had a movie like the year before called The Parallax View. The Parallax View with Warren Beatty, and of course the year after you have the famous Woodward Bernstein film, All the President's Men, with Redford again playing Bob Woodward and Dustin Hoffman playing Carl Bernstein. Anyway, there's some dangerous moments. A mailman, one of the guys who was kind of putting on a character, comes to Faye Dunaway's home because they've been making calls from the house. Redford had been making calls from her own home. There's a great scene in the film as well. There's nice tension in a scene with himself and Max von Sydow, the actor, in an elevator when he's going to see his friend Sam's home, and he gets his wife to get out of the building. It's too dangerous for her to be there. He's told early on too by his landlady that there's two men waiting in his apartment for him, so he gets out of there as well. She just turns around and he's gone. And he creates a great maneuver for himself to get out of a building after Max von Sydow leaves. Distracted him and covered himself from getting shot. The end of the film is very famous. I mean, it ends in a freeze frame, and I know they say a lot of films don't end well with the freeze frame or it's unjustified. This ends with a freeze frame that I think is justified. He's meeting with Cliff Robertson, who is playing Higgins in them. He's basically talking to them towards the end of the film about the New York Times. And Redford is kind of saying to him that he sensed information that he got from the deputy director when he kind of entered his home. He kind of put it together then, all these kind of stories that are written in a certain book that Redford had ideas about are all to do with kind of oil locations around, top of South America, Venezuela, into the Middle East, and ideas about taking oil or taking food, and this is 1975, and he's asking Higgins, are we invading middle countries to get oil, or are we invading the Middle East? And the way Higgins answers the question about fuel and about food is an allegory of what's going on today, desperation for food, desperation for fuel. Where Higgins would say, like, the people, we won't have to ask the people just to get the fuel and the food. They'll basically tell us to go and get it. Where Redford's more ideal and say, just ask the people. And, we don't need to be getting involved in wars, just kind of make deals or just go to the people and tell them what's what. But then it ends in the film, the movie ends then with Redford kind of saying to Higgins that he sent information to the New York Times and they'll publish all about the dealings of certain CIA agents within the CIA. And Higgins is basically saying to him, well, are they going to publish what Redford is the letter that he sent? Yeah, are you sure? Are you sure are you going to publish it? Yeah, how do you know? How do you know? And it shows Redford walking away. I know. Well, how do you know? Higgins keeps telling him, and then it just shows Redford walking away and turning back towards Higgins in a freeze frame. So it's an excellent story, and I like the film. I like the atmosphere of the film, and yeah, different ways Redford looks in the film as well. Like, he's got the collar up as well, which is kind of a cool look that you see later on. Yeah, but I think the story is it's very believable, and the deaths in the story are very believable as well. And I think it should be seen alongside The Parallax View and All the President's Men. These kind of espionage thrillers, 1974, 1975, 1976. So the league with those kind of films you see later on, like Enemy of the State with Gene Hackman. So I hope you enjoyed this review. You can log on to YouTube and watch the Lear Media YouTube page and watch many of our YouTube Lear Media videos there. And you can like this video, subscribe with the red button, the bottom right hand side, and you can watch many of our shows on the Lear Media YouTube page, Facebook, Twitter, and across the rest of the social media platforms. I'll talk to you next time.